And as we look at the third ingredient in the recipe for Christian unity, we can start to see how they were able to accomplish this, because material possessions were being thought of as resources for generosity. Let's look at the second half of verse 32. This is where Luke explains, "And no one said that any of the things that belonged to him was his own, but they had everything in common." And then again in the second part of verse 34, it says, "For as many as were owners of lands or houses sold them, and brought the proceeds of what was sold and laid it at the apostles' feet, and it was distributed to each as any had need." One of the most important things for us to keep in mind here was that when it came to selling their property, selling their land or their secondary houses, all of this was done voluntarily. Okay? There was no mandate from the apostles. There was no compelling government entity that was trying to force all of this to happen. With a proper understanding of the gospel, these early Christians were likely being convicted by earlier periods of their lives where things like greed and materialism were prevalent. And here they were now with extra pieces of land or second or maybe even third houses, while other believers were completely destitute and they were in need of help. So with the grace of God in their hearts, they began to view those extra possessions not as treasures to store up for themselves here on earth, but as resources. Resources that God had given them so that they could now bless others within their church family. In a type of transformation that only God could produce within us, these people began to care more about the well-being of others than they cared about their own material legacy and their own financial portfolios. They gave because they considered these other Christians to be family. And they gave because God had blessed them with the resources to help meet the needs of their brothers and sisters. So, when they combined the ingredients of a common understanding of the gospel with thinking of others as family and then using their possessions as resources for generosity, the final product that began to form was, as Luke describes, it was a massive group of people who were of one heart and soul. They were unified. They were loving. They were strong, healthy, selfless in all things. And isn't that what we want from the local church that we're a part of? Shouldn't this be how we live and serve and give with our own lives?